I'm glad to say I'm joined here in the studio by the Nobel Prize-winning economist, Professor Joseph Stiglitz, who's got a new book out. It's called The Euro, How a Common Currency Threatens the Future of Europe. Thank you very much for being with us, Professor Stiglitz. And I know the thesis of your book really is that the Euro has undermined the EU, has been a destructive force. Does that mean you think the British people were right to vote for Brexit?
That's a slightly different issue. The failure of the eurozone, I think, it did feed into the outcome of the Brexit. I mean, you're looking across the channel and you see a eurozone that's not working, where large parts of the eurozone are actually in a depression deeper than the Great Depression. And you see across that channel a eurozone where one country is really dominating economic power with an ideology that really is out of sync with much of the rest of the world.
Well, you're talking about Germany.
Yes.
Yeah. But do you think then that the EU as it is now is fatally flawed? I mean, obviously the British people voted to leave it, but perhaps partly, maybe because of what you say, the eurozone, but largely also because the free movement of people and immigration.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think it's fatally flawed, but the euro, I argue, was flawed at birth. That doesn't mean that the problems can't be addressed, and I try to explain what were the flaws at birth. You know, the problem wasn't the structure of the individual countries, but the structure of the eurozone itself, and that's where you need to focus structural reform. And the same thing more broadly. You know, you could keep the idea of free movement as an ultimate goal, but I say in the meanwhile, you know, we have to have ways of managing this, and that free movement imposes particularly large costs on particular countries. Okay. And the collectivity, the eurozone as a whole, has to share those costs. And you know, those are just basic economic principles.
So, you know, whatever the rights and wrongs of Brexit, I'm not quite sure whether you support it or not from what you've said, but what do you think, now that you're here in Britain, should be Britain's relationship once it leaves, with the European Union once it leaves? What is the future for the UK outside the EU?
Well, this is going to have to be a result of mutual discussions. I hope Europe takes the view that the benefits of close economic integration, as close as can be consistent with the votes of the people of the UK, is what they should be striving for. You know, there were some people right after the vote, like Juncker, who said, we're going to give it to the UK. And when he went on to say, because we have to be sure that no one else leaves. And to me, when he said that, there was a very odd, because
I think one of your theses is that the EU sort of threatens people. It rules by fear, isn't it?
Yeah, precisely. And that the benefits of the EU should be sufficiently clear that people would want to stay in. And he might have said, you know, we haven't done as good a job as we could have explaining those benefits. You know, that you could understand. But saying we are going to keep the EU together by fear is exactly the kind of attitude that drove the UK out of the EU and will drive other countries out of the EU.
And